Hello and welcome to the Classic Guitar Rock Update for today, March 21st, 2023. And I don't know about where you live, but where I live in Washington State, it's a beautiful day. Nicest day we've had of the year so far. So gorgeous weather. Spring is in the air. Now, that doesn't mean we won't get snow in the next 3 days, but today, it's a beautiful day. My name's Jeremy, and I want to get to some of your emails and also talk about a few things in the news. I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me an email, classicguitarrock@mail.com. So let's get to some emails first. This first one, full disclosure, this is from a good friend of mine that I actually play in a band with, and he emailed me. So he hit me up in the email, which is great. Tracy O'Donnell is his name. Phenomenal singer. He can nail the 80s tunes, Loverboy, The Police, Journey. I mean, he can sing all that stuff. Great singer. So he says, "Hey, dude, can't wait to jam with you and the guys soon. I'm pretty sure you already know what my favorite band is. You'll figure this out from the email, since I named my oldest daughter after them. LOL, as a singer myself from a young age, I was amazed by Steve Perry's range and stage presence. He may have looked goofy at times, but he was definitely a showman on stage. Not to mention their music was amazing and timeless. I always love it when I watch a movie, a show, or even a commercial on the radio and it plays one of their songs. As far as my favorite music memory, well, I have a lot of them. So it's difficult to choose just one. So for today, I'll share one that's not a great memory, but your podcast that talked about Night Ranger recently brought it back to my memory. I have a sister who is just a year older than me. Growing up, we were always doing stuff together because of being so close in age. When we were teenagers, my sister won tickets to the Night Ranger concert, and I felt pretty sure that she would choose to take me as we were very close. Imagine my disappointment when she chose my older brother." When I confronted her about it, she said, "Well, I wanted to choose you, but Trevor has a license." Well, a license is going to win every time, right? So on the day of the concert, I was left home listening to their latest album. Well, she and my brother enjoyed the concert. I can laugh about it now, today, but I take every opportunity to bring it up to rub salt in the wound with my sister, so she never forgets choosing my older brother over me for that concert. It's a family thing. LOL. Tracy. Tracy, thank you so much. Again, Tracy's a good friend of mine, playing a band with him. Next email. Dear CGR, obviously, March 19th is a very sad day for all of us Randy Rhoads and Ozzy fans. I saw you commemorated it on your Twitter and got a lot of comments. Such a sad loss. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on Randy. Thanks, from Bernie. Bernie, thank you very much. So that was what? Sunday. Sunday was the 19th. The loss of Randy Rhoads was huge. I was really, like a lot of people, I was in ninth grade when he died. A lot of people of my generation were really into Randy Rhoads and Ozzy Osbourne, and it was just a tragedy when he was lost. And as I was reminded of all the details of it again, I mean, there's the music part, right? Obviously a brilliant musician, a phenomenal legacy he left us with just a minimal amount of albums that he was on, but they're all magical. So there's the musical side. But as I read back on all the details, you know what? It makes me angry. It makes me mad. Specifically, this Aycock guy who was the pilot pisses me off. I don't want to go into all the details, but here's a guy that was their bus driver, and I don't remember all the details, but they were staying at I think it was one of his, might even have been his place or a friend of his or something, but they just parked the tour bus at this guy's place on their way to a gig. In between gigs, they'd played the night before, and they parked the bus here to sleep. And in the morning, Lee, I think his name's Lee Aycock guy, he had a pilot's license, and there were some planes at this place. There was a little airstrip. And so he apparently got permission to fly the plane or whatever. And he went for a ride and took Don Airy, the keyboard player, great keyboard player. He took Don Airy on a ride, and flew around. And everything was great. And then when he landed, he said, "Hey, who else wants to go?" And apparently Randy and a lady named Rachel Youngblood, who was their makeup artist, they went. Now I've heard that Randy didn't really want to go, but Rachel wanted to, so he went with her or something. I don't know all the details. So the two of them get on the plane with this Aycock guy, and he starts being a jerk, right? Doing daredevil stuff, trying to buzz the bus and just crazy stuff. He winds up clipping the bus, flies into the house next to it. Plane bursts into flame. Everyone's killed instantly. So it was this guy's stupidity that killed not only Randy, but killed himself, killed Rachel Youngblood. Just a tragedy. Can you imagine? And for the members of the band, that's what woke them up. I think Don was the only one awake, but Rudy and Ozzy and everyone was asleep on the bus, and they wake to this horrific accident. And I think it took a while till they realized Randy was on that plane. That was Randy that died right in front of them. But just a tragedy. And that guy was an idiot. So yeah, it makes me mad as I look into that, and just a senseless death that didn't have to happen, and it was because someone was stupid. An interesting little tidbit that a lot of people don't know is this Aycock guy had also been a bus driver for Rainbow. And Richie Blackmore had said, "This guy's got a bad vibe. I kind of get the creeps from this guy. And even if it means paying our regular driver more to come back from his vacation, right? We want him. We don't want this guy driving for us." So just a little interesting little side note that he had worked for Rainbow as a driver, and Richie didn't want him. There was something that he didn't like about him, and it's just a tragic thing all the way around. So, when I think back to the artists that their deaths hit me more than anyone, Randy Rhoads is the top one. Again, I was, ninth grade, really getting into Ozzy and loved the first two albums. And it was just a tragedy when he died. And of course, I spent much of the next following, I've already said on episodes of the podcast that my sophomore and junior years of high school, I literally listened to Blizzard or Diary every single day. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't listen to one of those two albums in its entirety. But they just, I had all the Guitar Player, Guitar World magazines about Randy that I still have them all in a little footlocker. But he was just very inspiring to me, and what a talented guy. And I think all of us always ask, what could he have done had he not died at the age of 25? And 25 is just a kid, right? The older I get, the more I realize 25 is just a kid. And man, what could he have accomplished had he not died in such a senseless accident? And you know what? The band never really recovered. I mean, Ozzy went on and did other albums, but Rudy and Tommy both were like, it's not the same. And they both went different directions really pretty much after that. So just a tragedy. And what a great loss. What a great loss. Bernie, thank you for your email. Okay, here's one more. Oh boy, this will be fun. Hi, Jeremy. This is old news by now, and I know you have a strict no politics policy. And I do. Not that I don't have political opinions. Obviously, I have political opinions, but I don't like to talk about politics on my YouTube channel and my Facebook anywhere, because politics is the great divider, right? And I rather focus on the things that unite us, and that's great classic rock, right? So I don't care what your politics are. Everyone's welcome. I just don't like talking about politics. This is old news by now, and I know you have a strict no politics policy, but I'm not a guitar player and would love to hear your thoughts about the back and forth between Joan Jett and Ted Nugent, about her being included in the Rolling Stones 100 Best Guitar Players list and Ted not being included. Again, not looking for political thoughts, strictly from a guitar standpoint. I'm a huge fan of both of them and hate to see the fighting. Take care, DJ Browning, Pulaski, Tennessee. I have been to Pulaski, Tennessee, so let me talk about this. Because I'm a fan of Ted and a fan of Joan Jett. I've seen Joan Jett live 2 times, actually. Seen Ted live once. So the only political thing I'll say is artists can say things that alienate people, right? And Ted's a perfect example, right? A lot of people love him or hate him, and it depends on your politics, basically. Okay, if you love him, you're okay with what he says. If you hate him, the reason you hate him is his politics. And because you hate him, you discount everything he did musically. You could say the same thing about Roger Waters. Okay, other side of the political spectrum, he alienates half of his fan base. If you hate his politics, chances are you discount everything he did musically, even if it was brilliant, right? So people can talk about separating the politics all they want, but in reality, it's hard for people to do that. It really is. Rolling Stone magazine is probably second only to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in sheer stupidity and idiotic, bullheaded stupidity. I know I said stupidity twice. Rolling Stone is a steaming pile of poop, okay? And that's not a political statement. It's just, it sucks, right? Rolling Stone is the magazine that they think they're smarter than everyone else, right? And they come up with these ridiculous lists, the top 500 songs of all time, and you get to the top 20 and you haven't even heard of most of them, but they're so smart and brilliant that you should have heard of them, right? You're just not smart enough to recognize that they're so brilliant. So I have no respect for Rolling Stone, and usually any list they make is a complete joke. Now, I love Joan Jett. Joan Jett should be nowhere near a list of top 100 guitarists. And that's not a slam, but she's a rhythm guitar player who plays very basic bar chords, power chords. Nothing wrong with that. That's her guitar function in her group. No way should she be on a top 100 list. Okay. And I think, again, I'm not trying to defend Ted. I mean, he's said a lot of things that has got himself in trouble. I don't think he really was attacking Joan for anything other than she shouldn't be on a list of the 100 top guitar players, right? Because she's a very basic guitar player that plays very basic parts. Again, not a slam. That's just the reality. She should be nowhere near a list of the 100 top guitar players. I love her. I love her music. I love several great songs she's done. She's great, right? But she's not a top 100 guitar player, okay? Ted Nugent, you can argue whether or not he should be on that list, right? Personally, I think he should be. I think he's a top 100 guitar player. In the 70s, I can't think of a guitar player that was bigger than Ted Nugent. I mean, you had Jimmy Page, obviously, but in the mid to late 70s, he was the guitar hero, right? He was pre-Van Halen. He was pretty big. From a sheer guitar standpoint, he should be on the list before Joan. Now, you can argue whether or not he should be on that list, whatever. Personally, I think he probably should be for his guitar playing. The Ted Nugent, the debut Ted Nugent album, pretty dang good album. I mean, it's pretty smoking. I would say there's one filler track on the whole album. Everything else is really good. So, am I skating around well, I don't want to get into the whole back and forth. I don't care about that. But Joan Jett should not be on a list of the 100 best guitar players. And that's not a slam against her. That's just the reality about her skills as a guitarist, right? Ted Nugent, very good guitarist. You can debate whether or not he's a top 100 guitarist. I'm okay with that. I think most people that say he isn't don't like his politics, and that's just the reality, right? So I'm not choosing sides, right? I don't know all the back and forth. I mean, I read it. I remember they both said snarky things, whatever. I don't care. But I will say this. Joan Jett should be nowhere near a list of the top 100 guitarists. And, you could make the case that Ted should or should not be on that list. But whatever list of guitar players you come up with, Ted Nugent should be way higher than Joan Jett is on it. Okay, that's just from a guitar standpoint, politics aside. And that's it. That's it for emails. Thank you for sending those emails in. You can email me at classicguitarrock@mail.com. Also follow us on Twitter at classicguitarr1. We'd love to see you there also. A few news items. One, speaking of back and forths, Carmine Appice, or Appice, Vinny and Carmine are brothers. I think Vinny pronounces his last name Appice and Carmine pronounces it Appice. I'm not sure, so I'll call him Carmine Appice. Carmine Appice, great drummer, played in Vanilla Fudge, played in, was he in Cactus with Jeff Beck? I think he was. Played with Rod Stewart for years, played with Ozzy on the Bark. In fact, on the Bark at the Moon tour, when I saw Ozzy, Carmine was the drummer. Great drummer, legendary drummer. Well, he had shared last week that Mick Mars had told him that Mick was very frustrated on the last Motley Crue tour, and that's why he quit. And he had mentioned that they were playing to recorded tracks, music like bass and guitar parts recorded that they were playing. And, he said that, he said that Mick was frustrated that they were playing recorded tracks, blah, blah, blah. Well, then a few days after that, Nikki Sixx responded and basically called Carmine a washed up drummer and said, that's BS, you'll get the truth from us, not from a washed up drummer, that sort of thing. And then Carmine has again responded back saying, hey, at least I play my own instrument on stage. At least I play my own instrument on stage. And in fact, I have taught people for the last 40 years, to play the instrument. And that's true. Carmine gives drum clinics. He's an educator, right? He gives drum clinics all over and stuff like that. And let's be honest, Nikki Sixx never been known as a great bass player. And the idea that he can't play or doesn't play live is kind of a head scratcher, because it's not like he's playing anything that tough, right? How tough is it to play Motley Crue bass parts? So whatever. More back and forth between Nikki Sixx and Carmine Appice, or Appice, however you want to say it. Okay. Another thing, excuse me. Vinnie Vincent. Okay. Have you guys followed the Vinnie Vincent saga? It's a very interesting saga. In fact, a number of years ago, he finally came out of retirement, came out of hiding. Because, it had been like 25 years or something since he'd said anything in the press or whatever. And there was a Kiss Expo back in 2018 where he finally came out of the woodwork and talked. And there was an elephant in the room, right? Again, not getting into politics, but it looks like Vinny I don't know if he's officially transitioned gender it looks like he has. He looks like a grandma, okay, complete with pantsuit and everything. So that's his deal. I'm not making a judgment on that. I'm just saying it appears that he's had some changes in his life. Maybe I haven't seen anything about that, so maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like he had. Anyways, since then, I know of at least 2 occasions where he was going to be performing. And in fact, tickets had been sold for people to come to these performances. And in both cases, he canceled at the last minute. And they had to refund tickets. It cost promoters a lot of money. And he's not stable. Okay. He does not give the impression of being a stable guy. You know, if you read the autobiographies of both Gene and Paul, they'll tell you some Vinnie Vincent stories, and actually Carmine, we just talked about Carmine Appice, can tell you some Vinnie Vincent stories as well. Why do I bring this up? Vinnie Vincent will premiere. This is from Ultimate Classic Rock. Vinnie Vincent will premiere his long-awaited new album Judgment Day at a listening party in Nashville on May 19th and 20th. For $500, fans will get to hear Judgment Day at Starstruck Entertainment Studio and are also invited to jam with the former Kiss guitarist. Quote, "We've spent the last months perfecting the mixes and it's time to rock," reads the announcement on Vincent's website. "This will be a birthday bash blast, rock and roll party weekend rolled into one. There will be live performances, catered food, cocktails, and the fan jam. Anyone who wants to participate, drummers, bass players, singers who want to jam on stage with VV, sign up ASAP." So he's putting this event together. Guys, I'm not saying it won't happen, but I am saying I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen based on what's happened over the last since 2018. Those situations where he's at least 2 occasions that I know of where he was supposed to appear at events and he cancels at the last minute. So Vinnie Vincent was a good guitar player. He really was. A great songwriter too. So, a lot of negative stuff said about him by other members of the group. When I've seen him in interviews, he seems like a pretty nice guy. And the things I mentioned earlier about, it looks like he's maybe transitioned. I don't, that notwithstanding, that doesn't matter. I don't care. But he seems like a nice enough guy to me. But also you hear the accounts of, people that were in the Vinnie Vincent invasion. There's some kind of unflattering things that they discuss as well. So I wish him all the luck in the world, right? But based on recent history, I wouldn't hold my breath that this thing happens in May. Just throw that out there. All right, so there's a couple news items. That's the main thing the main things that I wanted to cover and share those emails with you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next Classic Guitar Rock Update. Bye-bye.